Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed, and unfortunately, Bashar could not be here today because the PCB did not release him on the NOC to be present in more than 2 podcasts a week.
Hello. Luckily for me, I am actually not a contracted player from the PCB. I'm sort of a free agent.
Sorry, that was just a rumor spread by the lovely Shoaib Jat, and now we are back with Bashar Sayed on the Backward Point Podcast.
Great to be here. Lovely. We last time saw you when Pakistan was down 3-0.
So today we're talking about Pakistan's 4-1 loss against New Zealand, what this means for Pakistan as the T20 side, and how we feel about it. Bashar Sayed, let's take it away.
I'm very sad because, T20s is where we excel. This is our format, bro. Last T20 World Cup finalists, the one before that, semi-finalists. So this is sort of the only format we're sort of good at. And for Pakistan to be a complete no-show. I heard the commentators talking about how disappointing this series has been, and they expected better because in the past, Pakistan has come to New Zealand. They've won series, they've won a tri-series, they've won a T20I series under Sarfraz's captaincy. So for Pakistan to sort of be blown over, I mean, at one point they were 4-0 down in the series, and it was thankfully, to Iftikhar Ahmed's 3 wickets, Mohammad Nawaz's 2 wickets, and Osama Amir's 1 wicket that Pakistan won. It feels surreal saying this, but Pakistan won in New Zealand due to their spin bowling expertise.
That's wild to me. And Iftikhar Ahmed, that wasn't even given a chance the entire series, comes out 4 for 3. And I think he gives like 12 or 13 odd runs. It's insane.
Do you remember the live stream where I was like, yo, give Iftikhar Ahmed an over? And everyone's like, yo, it's not like, if Nawaz is not taking wickets, if Osama Amir is getting smacked, how is Iftikhar going to make an impact? This is how.
Iftikhar was always the difference in the World Cup in India as well. Like whenever Babar utilized him, he showed up. He gave you a quick 6-7 overs with a couple of wickets, low economy. He's just one of those people. And I'm just glad that in the attempts of getting Iftikhar recognition, I have turned into a meme. I don't know if you guys have seen already, guys, on Instagram. You can check it out. The moment of me imitating Iftikhar in his viral moment has sort of gone viral. You guys can just take a beating at it, use it for whatever you need. It's the Khamosh Rahe moment from the podcast previous to this. And it's just like everybody's having a good time now because Pakistan has won a game. And it feels like Pakistan hasn't won a game in 10 years. It's been too long. And even though it came with a lot of consolidating promises and what ifs and more questions were left on the table than they were answered, I think I'll take the win.
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but Pakistan's last win was last year.
He is that guy, guys. And this is the last episode that I'm doing with Bashar after that horrendous dad joke. No, but seriously, like it's felt like it's been a really long time since Pakistan has won. Surprisingly, they did win last time against New Zealand in a rain-affected World Cup match where, the critics say that Pakistan would never have chased 400. The believers say, chase 400. We already did. So it's just one of those things where, okay, fine, a consolidating win for Pakistan, but this one again comes in after just a horrendous start for Pakistan in what seemed like a never-ending torturous T20I. But Pakistan come out the victors somehow. And, if you want to talk about it, let's go deep into it. Iftikhar took 3 wickets, like I said. Khamosh Rahe meme viral. Nawaz took 2. Osama took 1. 6 by the spinners in this game. Now, this game, when Pakistan was batting, felt like, what is going on? The pitch was, in Pakistan, we call it, quote-unquote, double pace. Our coach used to say it, where it feels like the ball is coming at you at one speed, and after it bounces, it has totally, like, the pace has died, or sometimes the pace just keeps at it at the velocity that it's supposed to go on, double pace. So it was one of those pitches, and the spin was just, if you're landing it in the right areas, it was just going a mile, and it was causing a lot of trouble to the batsmen, especially a bowler like Santner who knows how to vary their pace. If he's pitching it to you on good length, he's sometimes shooting it at 90 darts, sometimes taking it back to 75. Someone like Babar Azam was struggling a lot, but the number one batsman whose stats will go as a walk of shame for Pakistan, Babar Azam.
13 off 24 balls, strike rate of 54. This is a terrible innings, even with respect to Test cricket. With the ongoing hashtag Pakistan way, Shan Masood would not approve this innings, let alone in test matches. And Babar was just struggling all over. He was dropped twice. And the New Zealand fielders were not helping to end Babar's misery. And it seemed like Fakhar Zaman was batting on a different pitch. 33 off 16 balls, 4 sixes, 1 4. The main reason I think behind this double pace or turning track was because they used the same pitch as the last match. So that's why it was slow, wasn't coming on the bat as well as they wanted it to.
Again, I don't understand pitch science really well, and I think one of these days we have to get like a pitch curator onto the podcast just for my own knowledge. I think the people would love that as well. But how that happens, why a pitch used twice is less impactful. If anybody knows in the comments, definitely let me know, educate me on that. But yes, you're right, that was the case, and that pitch turned out to be a belter in the fourth T20I. This one was just nowhere to be seen. I mean, Zaman and Abbas Afridi bowled an over each, and Shaheen was bowling his third before he rattled the entire team out. That just shows to you, like improvisational captaincy by Shaheen Afridi. Who would have thought? Whose bingo card was that on? Not me, because he just using the presence of mind, bringing in Nawaz to attack in the power play. He gets whipped for a 6 and then takes a wicket. That's good. That's good captaincy. And then seeing that the track is actually in support of spinners, and then bringing out the biggest gun you have, the Dr. Khamosh Rahe, Ifti, and bowling him out for 4. That just shows you that he's willing to go that extra mile. But I want to know how much of the decision making was Shaheen's decision making, and how much was it of the camp of Hafiz. So, I felt like throughout this series, I mean, this was an inauguration series for Shaheen. His captaincy was under the pressure. His captaincy was scrutinized. I just want to know how much was it actually his captaincy that we were seeing, and not Dr. Professor, PhD Hafiz. What were your thoughts on that?
So Pakistan at one point were 4-0, and there was a couple of things that Shaheen did as soon as he came into captaincy. The first thing was breaking the Rizbar opening pair. We've talked about it in depth how it was one of the most successful ones in terms of runs, averages, 100 partnerships. But a stat where we perhaps did not mention was that they were lacking behind in the strike rate, and especially in the power play where you need to sort of utilize the fact that only 2 fielders are outside of the circle. So Shaheen comes in, he breaks the Rizbar opening pair, he introduces some young blood into the Pakistan attack. He brings back Azam Khan. He brings back Hasibullah. He brings Sahib Dada Farhan. Abbas Afridi gets a debut. So those are some of the, I would say, overarching changes in the Pakistan team. Now, mind you, Naseem Shah is injured, so there is an option to play around with that third seamer option. Fahim Ashraf is not on the side, so you can still experiment with an Amr Jamal. And
How did Amr Jamal face for you? Were you impressed by his T20 performance, or do you think he was a little undercooked?
I think he was undercooked, and that's kind of surprising because he performed really great in the toughest format of cricket, which is Test cricket, that also in Australia. So cricket being a funny sport where he was, the hero of the Pakistan versus Australia series, despite losing 3-0, come to this tour, he got smacked all over the place, and not really a lot of promise from his batting, but the potential is there. I think we need to continue to back him, and he could be a potential asset for Pakistan also in white balls if you continue to improve his batting. His fielding's good. He's a decent bowler. He has pace. So if he works on his line length, his variations, I think he could be a good fourth seamer batsman.
This is a bit premature, but do you see him in the T20 squad?
For the World Cup?
Yeah.
I think it would be a good idea to have him there.
Okay. In the 15?
In the 15. Because right now, Pakistan's other issue is that Shaheen was batting at number 7. And Shaheen is not a number 7 batsman. Sorry, this is not the PSL. This is not the Lahore Qalandars team. Pakistan needs some more batting depth. And I hope, Shadab, when he comes fit, comes back into the team, he is a pen into the playing 11 for the World T20.
At least Shaheen believes he's an all-rounder. If nobody else does, Shaheen does. And I respect that.
Yeah. And the good thing is Nawaz also performed with the bat in a few games.
Is that good?
Very good. Very good. Positive signs.
Is that positive?
It is positive.
I'm asking you again.
It is. It is.
The internet lives on forever, bro.
So the problem with Nawaz, the match winner, was always with the ball and not really with the bat. With the bat, there were a few games that he won us.
They won in India.
The one
against
against India.
They check up. Yep.
Yep. Also, the Tri-Series in New Zealand last time Pakistan toured, he played a few crucial innings. So he has the ability to do it with the bat, but I want to see more improvement in his bowling. So yeah, and I think one of the glaring reasons that sort of came up when Pakistan was 4-0 down, Rizwan comes to the press conference post-match.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, and he says, the reason why we're losing, actually, it's because we're experimenting. Our goal is not for this series. Our goal is the next T20 World Cup. And, we're not a lot of people are happy about breaking the whole Rizwan-Babar partnership. But it was because of the management. It was because of Shaheen that they wanted to break it. And it's sort of in the experimental phase. So hearing that stuff didn't really come out well. It was sort of like they were hiding behind that wall of experimentation. And that was the same thing that Shaheen said after the fifth match. He comes out, he says, "Oh, we were testing youngsters." And just with respect to that, let's analyze what youngsters they tested. Saim Ayub, the prodigy, the next big thing in Pakistan cricket, gets 4 matches in a row, flops in 4 matches.
I'm gonna push
Sure,
back.
the first one was
Yeah,
a decent performance.
27 off 8, and then he got run out, I believe.
Sure, but after that, he was sort of a flop, right?
Yeah.
So Saim Ayub gets 4 matches. Azam Khan gets 3 matches. Abbas Afridi gets 3 matches. Unluckily for him, he was injured in the other 2. Sahib Farhan gets 2 matches out of the 5. Hasibullah gets the 1 match. And that's sort of the thing. That Hasibullah inclusion is bothering me a lot. Firstly, because you bring him in for Saim Ayub, Saim who has flopped in 4 innings. Mohammad Haris has come out in an interview recently with Quick, and he mentioned that players like him need to be backed despite the failures. And I think Saim Ayub is in the same bracket as Mohammad Haris. So despite Saim's 4 failures, I just think they should have played in the 5th match. Also because bringing in Hasibullah for his debut match in the 5th match, dead rubber, and he got up for a duck, a 3-ball duck. What is that going to do to his confidence?
They left him for dead. That was not a position to get Hasibullah back on and try him out. Hasibullah, if he hadn't gotten a game and up until the 2nd or 3rd T20, yeah, you just set him out. Take him on the tour, show him the sides, let him have a good time. But you see through Saim Ayub's 5 matches. And that was the criticism that I had about the management and the selection in the 4th T20I as well. I think I tweeted about this from the Backward Point Twitter. You can check it out in the links below. Azam gets 3 out of 5. Okay, he's a flop, right? Now, even though he didn't show up in the first 3 games, the last 2 games, you should have seen through. What that would have done is 2 things. A, if he didn't perform the last 2 games, that's it. The door is closed on Azam Khan. We've tried and tested him out. We don't have to go back to that route. That gives a clear picture to Azam. That gives a clear picture to the fans. And the expectations are laid out on the table. What this does now at the 3 out of 5 stage is A, either say to the fans and Azam itself, we have no faith in you to finish this off. And either A, you're done for good, or what this does is in the 2 matches that he doesn't play, it leaves a question mark. What could have he had done better? Maybe in the 5th game, slow turning wicket, pitches like that in Karachi are evident. We've played in Karachi. We know about this. Maybe he would have done really good. Maybe he would have produced an innings like Fakhar Zaman. We will never know. So you leave the doubt in the mind of the spectators, and the expectations are left on the table, right? You should have seen through Saim. You should have seen through Azam Khan. Those 2 should have gotten 5 games in this T20I series, regardless of what happens at the end of the series. We have already lost the series at 3-0 in the beginning, right? So that's where my beef starts with management.
And the other issue is because you benched Azam, and subhanAllah, mashallah, the selection was so amazing from Babar Azam that we didn't have any specialist middle order batsman to replace Azam.
Because I thought the expectation was we're going to see through Azam throughout, right? As abysmal as Azam was in the batting at number 5 or 6, wherever he was batting, Iftikhar was just as worse.
Yeah, I have some numbers on Pakistan's middle order and how badly they flopped. And these are sort of points of concern for Pakistan for this series. Azam scored 22 runs at an average of 7.3 this series. Iftikhar Ahmed scored 44 runs at an average of 8.8 this series. And Sahib Tata Farhan, who is the replacement for Azam, scored 20 runs at an average of 10 this series. So Pakistan's middle order, a complete no-show, huge point of concern.
What else is new?
And this is also concerning because we've basically tried and tested every possible middle order batsman in the Pakistan team, starting with Danish Aziz, Asif Ali, Khujdil Shah, Haider Ali at number 5. Now Azam Iftikhar, I would say he's performed a lot in the past. So this 5-match series flop is not a huge deal. He's gonna come back hard. But
People are out for his neck.
well, his bowling sort of khamosh rahe from the bowling.
Yeah, but how much utilization is Iftikhar gonna? How much is he going to be utilized with his bowling? Shaheen just, for example, just thought about it in the 50-20 dead rubber game. Like, oh, maybe I should try Iftikhar. It's one of those things where it just seems like it's the obvious answer, but all the captains, including Babar Azam, have utilized him less and less over the past few years.
I'm going to say something again. If Shaheen's vision is for the T20 World Cup, they should continue with Azam and Iftikhar in the middle order because, firstly, you need Iftikhar's bowling when it comes to playing games in the Caribbean.
You can use Iftikhar's bowling and have one less spinner in the squad and just bowl him out. I'll bowl him out the 4. You don't need another specialist spinner if Iftikhar is that good, which I think he is.
And if you are playing with 2 spinners, Iftikhar can still bowl a few overs because that will then provide cushion for, let's say, if Haris gets smacked for 2 over 30 runs. Iftikhar can come ball 1 or 2 of his overs. So it's always good to have more bowling options. The one thing that I've always admired about MS Dhoni's captaincy is how much he rotated his bowlers. Like I remember back in the day, he would get overs out of Sehwag, Rohit Sharma, Suresh Raina. Yuvraj Singh was the player of the tournament in the 2011 World Cup because he took a lot of wickets. Now, Yuvraj is by no means a proper, genuine spinner. He's a part-timer at best. But Dhoni being Dhoni would use him at certain stages of the match where it would not only get wickets for Yuvraj and India, but it would also provide cushioning for other bowlers.
Now, this is a great segue into the question that we had from Patreon. Kavish and Yusuf both asked this. They say, why is the Pakistan bowling struggling so much? Naseem Shah is missed, but is he the solution of all the struggles that the Pakistan bowling has?
I think Naseem Shah he's dearly missed. There's no replacement for Naseem Shah. The way he balls in the middle overs, how great he is with the new ball, the variations he has, the pace he balls at. Naseem is a one of one. We cannot replace him. Simple as that. But the other point of concern is this is Pakistan. This is a country of 250 million people, a cricket-loving nation. One bowler gets injured and we can't find a suitable replacement for him. Like we're so at a loss that we keep coming back to like, oh, is it because of Naseem? Like, why don't we have another bowler to step up instead of Naseem? Like, Abbas Afridi was good, positive, but
it was really good.
But the problem for Pakistan is with the new ball. Like we have Haris, he's great in the death. You have Zaman, one of the best death bowlers in Pakistan. Abbas is decent in the middle overs and death. We are missing a genuine new ball swing bowler. And that's where I think they need to groom somebody. I think they were trying with Haris in the first few matches, then Zaman Khan, but none of them really got any extravagant swing.
Can you explain to me the difference? Because you've bowled in T20s and you're a new ball bowler. What is the difference when you're bowling in the first 6 overs versus the last 6?
Well, the first 6 overs, the whole idea should be that you want to be pitching the ball up. You want to have a good seam position, a good wrist, a good action that supports swing. And in the death, you sort of want to, because the batsmen want to go hard at you. So you want to be bowling with variations, Yorkers, bouncers, lower bouncers, wide Yorkers, anything and everything you have up your sleeve, you want to use that. So also bowling in the death is sort of easier in a way where the ball isn't swinging, and if anything, it's reversing. So if you ask Wasim Bakar Shoaib, new ball or old ball, they will pick old ball every single day because they know how to control it better. They know if they release the ball on the 5th stump, shiny side on the outside, it's going to tail back into the middle. It's going to happen, right? New ball is a bit more difficult. You need a lot more control, a lot more skill and accuracy. And there's not really any bowler in Pakistan right now that comes to my mind who is a beautiful new ball bowler aside from Shaheen and Naseem.
Have you seen any of the under 19 ICC footage of Ubaid Shah so far?
Yeah, Obad's impressive. The other guy who's impressive is the Muhammad Zishan guy. He's 6'8", and
He bowls the new ball as well.
I believe he does, and he's actually quite quick. He's upwards of 135, 140 clicks. So I hope they manage him well. I hope he's not a Mohamed Irfan where he plays like 3 years straight and then just breaks down. So take care of him. He could be a good prospect for Pakistan. But yeah, I think it's high time we try to invest into some other good new ball bowlers. There's this new bowler, not a new bowler, but an old bowler who's impressed, who's improved, who's been impressive, is Muhammad Imran Khan.
Oh, you can't say that anymore. Sorry, PTV broadcast is gonna just come through and stop this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was playing in the Bangladesh Premier League. He was part of the Pakistan camp as well. He's a left arm. He's not tall, not a tall fellow. He's a medium height fellow. Left arm, in swing bowler, balls 135, 140. I think he's actually pretty accurate. He's sort of similar to what Shaheen does, but minus a few inches in the height.
Yeah, Shaheen's tall. Well, I guess this is a good opportunity just to bring back the sponsors who sponsored the podcast. None so far. Thank you very much for people who are not sponsoring us. But again, we're excited to be supported by our patrons. We have a thriving community of cricket fans who are eager to connect with us, and you can join too. It's very easy. As you can go to our description, you can click on the Patreon and join in. There's a couple of tiers there. Whatever suits your fancy, that's yours. We have monthly Q&As, BTS videos and vlogs, and early access to future merch on a month and our monthly Zoom calls with our patrons. And future merch very soon. It's close by. Spring is coming. Watch out. Future merch is going to be there, and it's going to be a limited drop, is what we've decided here. So if you're already a patron, you're going to get the codes and all that. You'll be able to join in and participate. But if you're not, then you're going to miss out. Secondly, there are memberships on our Spotify and our YouTube with similar content that is specifically tailored for our patrons. We then release them onto the membership platforms on Spotify and YouTube. And with YouTube, you also get a badge, and whenever you comment on our videos, it comes right out to the top. So that's a perk for you guys. And then if you guys still want to support the podcast, absolutely free, join the Discord server. We have about 1,100 people in our Discord server who are massive cricket fans from all over the world, all the walks of life, just enjoying their time. And one of my favorite things in the world is our live commentary server. And it's just one of those things, live commentary channel in our server. Sorry. And it's one of those things where I just love being there when the match is going on. Any match. It doesn't have to be Pakistan match. It's just one of those things where people are so fun and the live reactions are so immensely fun that it makes my day. So if you guys want to check that out, the links are in the description below. Please do that. Help support the podcast. It means a lot.
Just got to come back to Pakistan's bowling to tie a bow onto this and move on. Question or comment from one of our patrons, Umar Siddiqui. He says Haris Strofe was a negative in this whole series. His economy rate was 10.61. He says, with the amount of T20 experience that guy has, he should be bowling good in all stages of the game and not just the death overs. If he proves to be ineffective in the power play and middle overs, he needs to be replaced. Now, this is Umar talking about Pakistan's most successful T20 pacer not even after, but who just surpassed Umar Gul in the rank, the list of most wickets by a Pakistani pacer. The problem, I agree with Umar, is Haris Strofe is expensive in the power play. He's expensive in the middle overs. He gets 3 wickets in the 19th or 20th over when the score's already 220.
There was a great graphic in the Discord server. Somebody put it in. I'm forgetting her name, but leave a chat in the thing below, which basically showed us where the majority of the wickets were, over by over. And in the beginning, the first 4 overs, I think the wickets were in the 10s, maybe high 10s. And the last 4, the wickets were in the 20s and 30s. So that just goes to show you how impactful those wickets are, on a percentage basis. If the team has already crossed 200 in the 19th over and you come out and take 3-0 over, are you really making much of an impact? Out for the audience to decide.
Moving on to some of the positives. I thought Babar's performance in this series was quite impressive, especially considering that he got pushed down to number 3.
Crazy stat here that you have listed. Babar at number 3, 650s in the last 8 innings at number 3. Maybe that was the answer all along.
I've been saying that.
So how good do you feel about this? But my pushback is this. Okay, firstly, how good do you feel about being right again? Secondly, are you right? Because Babar's coming in the second and third over anyways, and he's hitting those 50s at a strike rate of over 150 only because he's getting utilized in the power play. So are you right at all?
Yeah, the way things have panned out in this series is, Simon, you I believe was out on the power play every single match,
Every
and
single game.
same thing with Hasibullah in the last match. So the Rizbar partnership was still in the power play. There was again a comment by Mazhar Arshad, which I agree with. He says the issue with Rizbar was them batting together in the power play, them both being anchors. So in the future, if let's say Saim Mayub is opening with Rizwan, Saim Mayub gets out, you send Fakhr in. If Rizwan gets out, send Babar in. So they should sort of look at those matchups and plan accordingly. But Babar, despite being pushed down to 3, I thought he performed well. He was up to par with the strike rates, and had he gotten some more support from Fakhr, from Azam, from Iftikhar, maybe we could have won a couple of more matches. But just good signs that Babar was a team man to go to number 3. Did not make a huge fuss about that. I would love to see Pakistan continue with this same top 3, top 4. I would love to see Mohammad Haris into the playing 15 squad, and maybe try him out in a few of the playing 11s. The one thing I want to clarify here is a lot of people are saying that just because Muhammad Haris was a guest on our podcast, we've been advocating for him, we've been pushing his agenda.
Same thing about Azam Khan, which is rubbing me the wrong way because we've never, quote unquote, sold out just because we had certain people on the podcast. Yes, it's great that they were willing to come on the podcast and talk to us, but we will criticize them just as hard as we will support them. We've been on the case for Muhammad Haris and Azam Khan for a while now. Azam Khan's fitness is genuine, it's a genuine cause of concern, but what for the style of game that he plays, it really doesn't really factor into much. And I think during the 3 games that he kept wickets, he was okay, above average, I would even say in certain cases. So, it doesn't come, he's not playing test match cricket. He's not supposed to be there for 5 days. He's supposed to be there for 90 minutes in innings. So, guys, back off.
Yeah, and Muhammad Haris' stats, we've gone in detail about them. I think in the preview episode where we talked about how and why he was dropped. Muhammad Haris is the most destructive power play batsman in the PSL for the past 2 years. He's been one of the most destructive in the middle overs as well. So for him to be dropped and rested, and then we'll come back to this, but he wasn't even granted the NOC for the BPL. Like, he went to Bangladesh.
He was in the hotel.
He was in the hotel. He trained with the team for 2 days, and eventually he was told by the PCB that he will not be getting the NOC. So he had to fly back to Peshawar, where he's probably just chilling, training, practicing for upcoming tours and series. So that's kind of disappointing.
Again, like, you're not the only one who was disappointed in those. And Haris not being selected, and then Azam, not performing well. We have Temur Khan from the Patreon who says Azam Khan was the biggest disappointment for me. I'm not sure what the issue is with him not being able to translate sixes from franchise to international.
Yeah,
Good comment. I mean, we agree with that. I don't know what's going on.
That's a fact. Temur, that's a fact. We expect better from Azam. I know wherever he bats, it is a very specialist position. Now, I was just looking at some other players who used to play at that same position. Josh Butler, the first couple of years he played for England, he had no 50s. I think the first 3 years he played in 13, 14, 19 innings, he had only 150. Glenn Maxwell was one more player who plays at the number 5, 6 spot in T20s. The first year Glenn Maxwell played, average of 13. Second year he played, average of 21, no 50s, and it took him 20 matches to get his first international 50 in T20I. So it is a very specialist position. We talked about Asif Ali as well. Asif Ali's career average in T20s is 15, struck rate of 134. So, and I think in the 51 innings he's batted, he's won us like 3 or 4 matches. So that's
most most remarkably the one against Afghanistan in the World Cup
and New
4-6s.
Zealand.
And New Zealand as well, 4-6s against the Afghanistan one. So it's just one of those places where success should be measured on a different criteria altogether. Runs on the board, maybe not as impactful, but you have to play a very strong cameo, 8, 10 balls, 12 balls. That's probably as much as you're gonna get. And I still think, I don't know what proper chance we're waiting for, because at this time, the onus is on Azam to show up and prove to the world that, hey, this is not just a quote unquote Liga player, which means that he's not like a franchise player. He's an international standard player. And in order to do that, he has to come out and prove to us, play at 5 and 6, give me those big innings, win us those games. And again, I keep saying this PSL is going to be one of the most important PSLs of this year, of most important franchises of this year, only because it's going to determine a lot of fates for a lot of people.
Is a Khruzdil Shah come back on the cards? I guess we'll find out.
I hope not, but here we go.
Shaheen was back with 9 wickets. His economy on the higher side, 8.9. But to see him back in the wickets, always a positive. Question about his captaincy from Yusuf from Patreon. He says there's about 7 T20s left. Is that enough for Shaheen to improve his captaincy?
And at the same time, Temur also, who has great insights on the Patreon, asked, I saw positive signs from Shaheen, but he's not back to his OG self, which we all long to see. I don't want to feel proud when he's hitting 140. I want to see him back in his full flow, although I don't know how that will happen with his schedule management. His captaincy is still lacking a lot. Call me a Babar son, but I think that Babar should return to captaincy if he wants to. And if Wasim Khan returns as chairman, that would be icing on the cake.
Well, speaking of chairman, the chairman of the PCB just got changed today. Mohsin Naqvi, who was the caretaker CM of Punjab, has been appointed as the chairman of the PCB. Now, I keep saying this over and over again, but the PCB and Pakistan cricket will never see consistent results because the PCB is governed, or it's overshadowed by politics. And politics in Pakistan, we all know how it is.
Should the ICC ban Pakistan for interference in politics?
I don't know, but there should be some sort of, board of governance, elections, voting internally. And the chairman should not be appointed by the prime minister because there's always a conflict of interest. The past few years, it's just been a musical chairs between Najam Sethi, Zaka Ashraf, Najam Sethi, Zaka Ashraf, Ramiz Raja, Ihsan Mani, Wasim Khan. So, and given the amount of powers that the chairman has, it's actually quite ridiculous. They can remove the captain, they can change the coaching staff, make overarching changes. And to give it to somebody who has little to no cricketing background is dangerous.
I agree, but I feel like that's going to be a whole other podcast if we dive deep into that, and it's going to get depressing. And I'm not really into the mood for that right now. So maybe another time. But coming back to Shaheen, Taimur says he saw positive signs, but he wants Babar as captain if possible. And Yusuf asks, is that enough? 70-20 eyes left. Is that enough time for Shaheen to improve his captaincy?
Well, he has no chance because you can't really change the captain again after 1 or 2 more series. So if you've picked Shaheen, you've got to back him to the World Cup. See him through.
And I don't think it's just 70-20 eyes. There's at least like 25 games in the PSL as well that Shaheen will be captaining.
Well, the argument is that Shaheen and Lahore have built a super team in the PSL. So it's a lot easier for him to captain that team to win the matches.
I mean, if we're going to, use another NBA reference, the Brooklyn Nets built a super team with Kyrie Irving, my boy, what's his name? Kevin Durant, and a few others. I'm forgetting the name. Like insane team. Didn't even make it to the playoffs. Like, what are you saying? You need a good captain to lead that squad over to the finals. And the fact that he's done it twice over is impressive. Like, people are trying to like take his crown away, and you can't do that. Shaheen did show up. He was a young captain. He maybe had good pieces, but he knew how to work them together. So, built a super team or not, Australia had a super team in the 90s and the knots, but a captain like Ricky Ponting brought the best out of them. That's important as well. A captain like Pat Cummins did not have a super team, but he brought the best out of his players and won another World Cup. So I think that people are just trying to pull him down a little bit just because he's sort of, at the peak of his career, Pakistan cricket captain, also one of the greatest Pakistan bowlers currently playing. I think you have to give him the props. Let's see what he does in the PSL. I keep saying it. I'm going to say it again. Most important PSL for the Pakistan team is this one.
Let's talk a bit about the NOC issue. It's ongoing. So the issue ongoing right now is players who are centrally contracted within the PCB, they have a limit of playing only 2 international leagues in a year. And I believe this year starts back in June or July of 2023. So a lot of players that are contracted have not been granted NOCs for the BPL or the IL-T20. Players like Mohamed Haris, who already played the GT20 and the LPL, Fakhr, GT20, LPL, Ifti, GT20, LPL, and I think that's all the players. So these players have not been granted the NOC. Azam Khan, on the other hand, because he is not centrally contracted by the PCB, he has been given the NOC to go and play the ILT20. That's, I guess, he's sort of like a free agent. He can play as many leagues as he wants. It's a point of concern, actually, if you ask me, because at this point, it might be more lucrative to not be a Pakistani international player and just be somebody who is around in the league circuit, such as a Mohamed Amr, such as Imad Wasim. Recently, Jason Holder, who is one of West Indies' all-time great all-rounders in the recent past, he has given up Test cricket this recent tour to Australia to go and play the SAT. Is he playing the ILT20 or is he playing the SA20?
I didn't follow this
He's
story.
playing one of these leagues. But the point I'm trying to make is that he's given up the Test series in Australia to go play a league. Haris Rove recently gave up to play the Test series in Australia to go play the Big Bash.
He didn't announce retirement though. We just gave up that Test series.
Correct. But I mean, if you want to talk about it, this is actually a huge point of concern. Like if you're a cricketer, right, and your main goal is to earn a living, and especially with Pakistani players, they come from really humble backgrounds. One guy is feeding like 5 different families. Not only his family, but the whole village is sort of dependent on him. They're feeding off of him. So there's added pressure. There's short careers. There's injury scares. So players want to make the most of whatever 5-10 year career they have, especially when they're performing good, they're at their peak. So the PCB needs to do something to ensure that they're paying them enough or compensating them for not playing more than 2 leagues.
Now let me push back on that. What is the major criticism that we have against Shaheen Afridi?
Workload management.
Plays too many T20. He plays too many leagues. So why is it okay now that we want Haris to get his bank money and we want Fakhr to get his bag and we want Ifti to get his bag? If the requirement is that, and that's set by the PCB, and when you sign the central contract, you have the opportunity not to sign it, by the way. You could be a free agent. But when you sign that central contract, you understand the fact that, hey, this is the limitation that I've been given by my board, and my board is paying me handsomely. Okay, maybe it's not as handsome as 6 weeks, 120,000 in Dubai. Sure, 5-star hotels and cars picking you up and taking you places and free shopping and whatnot. Maybe it's not as lavish as that, but it's still a handsome fee. If you're in the A grade contract, that's 50 lakhs a month.
That's only 3 players, so that's only Shaheen, Babar,
Okay.
and Rizwan.
Haris is in what, C grade?
C or D.
What is that? 10, 15 lakhs a month?
It's nothing. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's nothing compared to what these leagues will pay you for like 6 or 8 games.
So then negotiate that in the contract. Maybe not have 2 leagues, maybe have 3 leagues. I understand your concept of, or your argument of, the one guy feeding the whole village and this is their prime years, let them make their money. I get that. I'm behind these guys getting the bag if they can. So maybe negotiate that in the contract, but just don't come out and be like, this is a brand new thing. They're targeting Haris, they're targeting fuck. Nobody's targeting anybody. This is the centrally contracted player that is not being allowed to play in another league. That's just as simple as that. And they've signed this contract. Now, when it came to negotiations, back in August or whatnot, this could have been a point of concern and it should have been raised then, but it wasn't. So I feel like crying about it right now is not the proper thing to do. I don't know how long these central contracts are valid for, but the players' unions, if there is such a thing, should go out together, renegotiate this. If 2 is less, make it 3, make it 4. But then when it's the opposite way, when it's not going in Pakistan's favor, like when Shaheen gets injured playing the LT20, don't come back and complain about that, because you can't have it both ways. If you want Shaheen to make his money, then he's going to compromise on workload management. If you want Shaheen to workload manage, then he's going to compromise on money. You can't have it both ways.
And the other argument in favor of this two league structure is the Naseem Shah example. Naseem Shah was apparently carrying his shoulder injury, but despite carrying that and resting and recovering and managing his workload, instead he went to play the 100, I believe. And then he also went to play the LPL and then the Pakistan series against Afghanistan in the Asia Cup. And then ultimately his body broke down. He picked up the shoulder injury and he hasn't played cricket in the past 4 months.
So that's what I'm saying. Like how many league contracts did he miss out? He was the face of the Pepsi campaign, man. That's what sucks. Pepsi's like, what the hell do we do now? He was the face of the Pepsi campaign of the World Cup in India, and that sucks. Like so many brands and then give up on you. So I'm okay with workload management. Haris goes out, plays ILT20, breaks a finger. He's out for 6 months. Goodbye World Cup. So I guess it's also the onus on the players to realize what they want to do, where they want to put their full stakes in, and you can skip as many leagues as you want. Just don't skip the GT20, bro. That's what I'm saying.
You want to see you're in Brampton, the cricket capital of Canada.
Exactly. And with that note, I think that's a good place to end it. I think we've covered everything in this past week. We'll be back, guys, soon enough. Don't worry. There is some exciting news also popping up, bubbling up. Hope that it materializes so that we can bring it to you. And we're very excited about it, at least off camera. And whatever that news is, if it comes to light, if you guys find out at the end of the day, then you guys have known that we've finally made it as a podcast. So lots of happening things happening. Lots of happening things happening. Look at me butchering this English. Check out the podcast on all the socials. Check out the podcast on Spotify. If you're already on YouTube, leave a comment. Emoji of the day, Bashar, before we head out. You know what? I know one. Let it be microphones.
No. Actually, can it actually be the quiet one?
Oh, okay. Yeah, for Ifti.
Ifti, come on, man. Ifti,
For Ifti, we get the quiet shh emoji. If you made it this far into the podcast, leave it in all the socials. Let us know if you watched it. Go onto Instagram. Use the Khamosh Rahe reel that we've cut out for you guys specially. Use it as much as you want. And then we'll see you guys in the next episode.
See ya.